Hi, it's SickBoy from the Gaminganarchist Collective. Right, I want to revisit the issue of used games and game ownership. Now, this is personally getting a little bit tedious, but it needs to be gone onto because I've had a lot of great feedback, both agreeing and disagreeing over the time, and I have discovered that there are only 4 arguments that I seem to be getting against my opinion. And I just want to cut those 4 down to size, just to make it a case, because genuinely, this comes down to a matter of opinion. There is no fact involved in this. However, some people are coming to me with their opinion, and it is based on erroneous, non-factual statements. Okay, so, first off, my comment with regards to the ownership of goods and where I talked about digital goods, I had loads of people saying, I do own stuff on Steam, I do own stuff on iTunes, and I disagree with you wholeheartedly here. I don't care that you can extract, that you can back up your games, that you can back them up and store them locally, that you can get songs from iTunes in MP3 format. You can then find ways, there are ways, you can do it. Of course you can do it. You can take those files and you can use them on other devices. But that does not mean that you own them. There's a whole issue with understanding what is ownership. Okay, ownership is to have possession of something where you hold the ability that you hold the value of it. You can sell it. You can keep it. You can sell it. Now, as a collector, the value of the things I collect does hold a certain amount of sway. It doesn't pick and choose what I collect because I collect things that I'm interested in. However, I pay more for things because they have more value. That's how these things work. Now, just because you can back up files, you can back up your MP3s from iTunes and play them on other devices, or even that you can make copies of those files, or that you can back up your files from Steam, does not mean that you own them. What constitutes ownership is the fact that they hold a financial value. Those goods are worth money to somebody else, or they are tradable with somebody else for other goods or services. That is what ownership is. That is what I do not want to give up. That is why I do not embrace... I embrace digital. I am not somebody who is against progress. What I am against is against using progress and then taking it as opportunities to tie us in, put in these false rules and justifications in order to give them more control, make us pay more for less, when really the concept of digital distribution is meant to minimise costs, increase the footprint of something, and allow more people to have it. But more and more, these things are being more and more hamstringed. So no, you don't own what you buy on iTunes, you don't own what you buy on Steam. You can back it up, you can play it on other devices. You don't have to have Steam connected to the internet. No, you don't have to run these games. You don't have to play your music on your iPhone or your iPod. That does not mean you own them. There is a real thing. You need to consider that point. If you are happy not to own them, that is your opinion. But the fact of the matter is, you try reselling an MP3 you downloaded from iTunes and you will be a pirate. That is piracy. The redistribution of digital goods is almost automatically under piracy. It's under copyright infringement and it is illegal. Therefore, you do not own it. That is why digital content needs to be significantly cheaper. Not only because it's cheaper cost of goods, but because it is worth less to the consumer. You are then literally just paying for the entertainment value. The entertainment value is worth less than the financial value of you having that good as a product that you can trade or sell freely within an economy. That is what capitalism is all about. That is how that's how free trade works. And and it's fine if you are happy with digital content. I know I've got terabytes of digital content stored. But that does not mean I know if I download an MP3, I then can't sell that MP3. That is why it has a lower financial value to me. Okay, so hopefully that has put that point to rest. Don't confuse ownership with being able to store it or copy it. Secondly, software's licensed, why aren't games? Okay. This one's a thorny one, and this is where there is a big legal issue here. Now, software is licensed because software is a functional thing. It is used, software, for example, can be your firewall, can be your antivirus, can, however, be video makers, can be drawing things. It can be, it's a piece of software. It is a service. You are paying them for a service. That is why you pay for licensing, to access a tool. That is what software is. That is why software is distinct from entertainment. That's how that's the difference to me. That is why there is a legal grey area surrounding software licensing and copyright. Just because I have to pay a license to have Adobe Acrobat Pro doesn't mean I have to pay. It doesn't mean I don't own a video game I buy. Okay? It is a thorny area. It is arguable, but ultimately that's the point. There is no definitive answer on that. Do you believe it should be? That's your prerogative. Does that mean that my opinion that it shouldn't be is invalid? Absolutely no, it does not. I will argue that software is a tool. It is something that you use to create a product, therefore there is a service charge required there. That's what licensing fees come under. You don't produce things as a video. What do you get? Entertainment. I don't take, unless you're someone like PewDiePie, you don't make a product out of your game. Okay? And that is why people copyright claim video game Let's Play footage. I don't think it's necessarily the right thing to do, but that's why they do, because you are saying you're taking that entertainment and then profiting off it. And they will argue you can't do that. Nobody is going to say that PDF was made through Adobe Pro. That is licensed software. You're not allowed to sell that. Adobe don't make people pay for things that were created through Photoshop because you paid the licensing costs. Therefore, the produce that you make within that software is yours. It is a very complicated legal issue. And to simplify it by, well, this is software, that is exactly the same, I'm afraid, again, you're wrong. Another one. Console games aren't profitable and used games are to blame. Right, again, this one is a very thorny, big issue, and it is, again, a matter of perspective. Yes, console games are not making enough profit for the companies. That is a given. Look at Square Enix, I've said them before, they're the best example. They shifted over 3 million units of Tomb Raider in a month, and that was a failure. Used games came into play there? I don't think so. The fact that companies like GameStop utilise the law in order to profit does not, in my opinion, mean that I lose my right of ownership. And it's not crying, it's not whinging, it's not that at all. It's a matter of perspective and opinion. And I can see the reason that console games aren't profitable is because they overinvest financially, they spend too much money on promotion, they don't have a realistic expectation of the return. They think pumping more money in equals more money out. That is a big business standard failure. And they've made that mistake time and time again to the point where they're making less and less profit, they're making larger gambles, hoping that it will come off. At this point, companies like Square Enix, they've been at the dog track or the horse races all day, and they're down to the last tiny bit of money, and they're thinking, maybe if I bet on this outsider, maybe it will save me. Maybe I won't have to go home and tell my family that I've got no money and we can't eat. Maybe I'm be lucky this time. And each time you're stretching your luck, not realizing that every single time you're taking bigger risks with more to lose, and that is what's happening with the industry. Used games are just a convenient scapegoat to say, well, actually, if no one owns what we sell them, then we can make more money. Of course you can! That's a no-brainer. If there were... It's a no-brainer, of course it's true, but is it right? If people were allowed to have sex with children, you wouldn't have paedophilia. Well, yeah, technically, yes, but also... what the fuck? Of course you would. If you remove the definition of paedophilia, you won't have anyone arrested for it. Yes. And yes, I know that's a bad analogy, and don't come at me going, you use paedophilia. think about it. There is no evidence. If there was evidence, if there was actual evidence rather than random opinion, do you not think there wouldn't be this argument? Anybody who thinks the answer is so cut and dry, and I'm not saying the answer is cut and dry, I am saying the answer is very complicated, but the answer is not so simple as to say ban used games. Don't get confused by the fact that I'm saying a simple stated opinion means I think it's simple. Fixing of the video game industry is a difficult bloody thing to do. There's going to need to be a lot of work, there's going to be a lot of changing how things work, a change in thinking, the whole paradigm is going to have to shift, and it should shift in a way that does not hamper the consumer, and that is my opinion. So there is, I mean, you can argue that they lose sales of a game, however, the sales of DLC are worth more money than the used game market, so you have to argue, well, financially, they're making the same amount of money. And don't say that DLC needs to be developed. DLC is almost exclusively paid for during the development cycle of the original game. And say, well, it takes them money to make that. Yeah, but they could be making another game, couldn't they? That is development time spent, they could be making another game. What they're doing is they know DLC is profitable. This is how business works. If it's not profitable, they don't do it. So DLC is profitable, therefore they do it. Working with GameStop to have release day exclusives is profitable, or they wouldn't do it. Just because they are making silly decisions on how much they think they're going to sell, and each time it's coming back as a failure, that's where they're making mistakes. Overinvestment, under returns. Adjust your returns. Adjust how you think you're going to sell. If you think you're going to sell, you think you need to sell 5 million, maybe you should budget to only sell 1 million units. And that way, you make more profit. Yes, and I also do want to see decent investment in AAA games. But frankly, you don't need to invest as much as you do to get a good quality game. You really don't. The amount of money that games make should be enough. The amount of sales they get should be enough. What do they want to do? Sell to more kids? Maybe sell adult games to kids. Maybe they want to remove the ESRB rating system and just say all games are okay for all people to play. Maybe that's what they want. The whole thing is far too complex to just blame on used games. And I will not allow my rights to be removed of ownership. Not my right. Oh, I'm not whinging about my rights for the sake of just whinging about my rights like some arsehole. I'm saying I buy something, I own it. That is my fundamental contract I make with the seller. You change that contract, I don't do business with you. That is how it works. That is my opinion. That is what I would like to see more people's opinion being. People who are just take my money and give me a game. How much do you want? Oh, how much money do you want from me? I'll give you whatever it takes. As long as you keep making games. There are enough people making games. Don't be a bloody shill. And don't pretend that it's so bloody simple. And the fourth argument that I hear a lot of the time is I don't care, or you seem to care too much about this. I care as much as I choose to fucking care, thank you very much. If you don't care, don't care. I'm not going to force you to fucking care. What I will say is go, why don't you care? And if you don't care, fine. But you're a fool to yourself, in my opinion. I think that makes you foolish. Is that a problem for you? Am I not allowed to disagree with you? For the most part, most people with a rational mind understand how this works. And hopefully, for the most part, I'm preaching to the converted here. But there are a few people. Some of you are willfully twats. Some of you, I believe, have got the wrong end of the stick. You should all be looking out for what ultimately benefits everybody, but you should also be looking at without benefiting everybody by damaging yourself. It's all well and good to be generous to the gaming industry. If they make a good product, we should buy it. We should support it with our money. That's a good thing to do. Just because they need more money doesn't cut it for me. And it shouldn't cut it for you either. It all comes down to having a sense of self-respect and having a sense of value in yourself. Don't just be a constant cog in a machine just churning out money for this popcorn microwave gaming bollocks. Game comes out, you play it for a couple of months, get rid of it, never look at it again. That's not gaming. I mean, there is an issue that since gaming has become more popular, the common denominator, just play Call of Duty, play FIFA, play Madden, and that's gaming. Well, you know, gamers we're an inclusive bunch. But for the most part, we're not that interested. We're not so interested with your Call of Duties, with your FIFAs and with your Maddens. Really not. Might play them from time to time, but it's not about just those games. And if it was just about those games, then all of these small titles, you'd never see Dark Souls 2. You'd never see Bayonetta 2. You'd never see these games that are core titles that have small audiences. We can't just keep running to this amorphous mass and supporting whatever is popular and whatever profits the big companies, because profiting is good. The business, it should be profitable. There's no reason that the gaming industry shouldn't be highly profitable. And I'm not against it being profitable. What I am against it is taking away my fundamental freedoms so they can be profitable. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching. Catch you guys later.